Hi, we're Blackout at Georgia State University, and you're watching 3LW TV.
Welcome to 3LW TV. This is Lonnell Williams on the campus of Georgia State University in my hometown of Atlanta, Georgia, where Blackout at the Georgia State is presenting a very interesting discussion tonight. Let's go inside.
This forum came in response, or started in response to the idea came about in response to the CNN special, Black in America. And I kind of felt like they neglected to acknowledge LGBTQ people within the Black community. And I tried to figure out why that was. And I was sort of thinking about, there's clearly a culture of silence in the Black community when it pertains to positive images of Black LGBTQ people, their identity and their expression.
Let's begin with Dr. Harvey Wingfield and her argument on reasons the LGBTQIQ community is excluded from the Black community at large.
I think that the Black community is often erroneously represented as being very monolithic and being very uniform. So there are a number of ways in which the Black community is not this uniform group that we might otherwise assume or which we might otherwise think. I think that those who are othered are often marginalized, and I think that one of the consequences of this within the Black community is that African Americans who fall on the other side of the slash, who tend to be or who are women or LGBTQ or who are differently abled or various nationalities and so forth, often find that their experiences often are not the ones that are pushed to the center and the ones that are given the most visibility and the most reference.
So one of the things that happens when you title a program Black in America is there's an assumption about who America is and Black people's relationship to that word. So Black people are automatically othered just by the title. So when we ask, are we Black too, we have to be careful that we don't participate in the same inclusive politics that ultimately do not address the ideological problem that constructs Blackness as straight. So in terms of the framing of our question, aren't we Black too? There's an assumption already that Black is straight. When people say Black, that it is straight, that it's Christian, that it's able-bodied. I mean, all of these things that we kind of take for granted, that we don't really think about, we really need to start thinking about how we're framing and how we understand and how we're using the term Black and who we think is included.
Wrapping my brain around the question, aren't we Black too, I'm left wondering a few things. To whom is the question being posed? Whose authority are we seeking? Whose confirmation of our Blackness are we desiring? CNN's notion of Blackness? Soledad O'Brien's notion of Blackness? Larry King and Anderson Cooper's notion of Blackness? And what a Blackness? A Blackness that has been commercialized, commodified, and sold? A Blackness that is packaged and repackaged to television audiences to get them to watch the show, with the same tired talking heads rattling and nattering about the same social ills, further pathologizing us in the first place. A Blackness that has never truly belonged to us, never truly been owned by us, and if anything has owned us, has trapped us, has limited us, has oppressed many of us, and has, dare I say, enslaved us. Is this the Blackness that we are asking to belong to? Is this the club that we're seeking membership into? And if so, why do we want this? Is this political masochism?
Being Black in America, it does lead to being born into oppression, indifference, and injustice. As well, for me, I am transgendered, and I will say that I really do not feel a connection with inside of the gay community, first of all, before we can lead outside of the gay community. I have always just felt excluded being transgendered to the fact where I won't say that I am transgender. I don't always feel that transgenders may always be understood. I don't think that also there may be enough transgenders that do step forward to explain themselves, and the ones that do come forward are not a positive image. I have felt more welcome by, I guess we could just say, society, just as being an individual, because a lot of times I do hide who I am, or I won't say hide, I just don't verbally acknowledge it. I believe we need self-healing and self-growth before we can, you know, attack some of the negative images that are being put out there, you know, in society about, you know, LGBTQIQ.
If you're a trans man, you're pretty much seen as like super butch, and you pretty much get lumped into the whole butch dynamic, which that's not who I am. And when you do identify as a trans man, you're not seen as part of the queer community. People, especially some lesbians that I've dealt with, they feel that, oh, okay, you're turning your back on the community, when it has been a part of my development as a trans man to be in lesbian community, you know. So when I'm transitioning, I'm pretty much seen as an enemy and not necessarily an ally.
I feel, instead of, in my position, instead of asking, aren't I black too, it's like, am I queer? Because oftentimes I don't even feel associated with this community, because in many cases, there are so many people that are resistant to even educating themselves. Because bias is one of those things, it is fed by ignorance.
As far as transgender, I think better understanding of that would come from an experience, having experience and being more open to relationships with people in the transgender community. A lot of times, even in the gay community, we look at it as an entertainment factor.
How does this go from being this really, abstract, ivory tower kind of conversation that we can have using these words that most people don't even know what mean, to something that is real and that can be practiced and that can be discussed?
To explain myself to anyone or as to my family, again, to myself, it's from the heart. Just like you said, we need to live it. I think it's on us individually as per person to begin to live it, and I believe that's how the progression, you know, will start.
I don't care what you think. You can like or dislike me. But at the end of the day, what you cannot do is contain my infinite fierceness within the realm of your limited thinking. So if you stop and you start from within, that's where it all starts. And then as you have that confidence and power projected within you, you'll start to attract people like you, and then suddenly the individual will become collective.
For me, I know most definitely there was a clear understanding, and it has empowered me a little bit, you know, to work a little bit harder within the community to kind of bridge that gap, okay?
Wow, that was very eye-opening for me. I actually learned something. Just when you think you know it all, thank you. I hope you got something out of it. Subscribe, comment, let me know what you think. Thanks for tuning in to 3LW TV. Okay, let's see if I have a better understanding of this. LGBTQIQ, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersecting, and questioning. Now what the hell is that? No wonder everybody is so damn confused.